These coffees are insane. Whoa. All right. Well, I am here at Bean & Bean. We're here in Queens, and we are at Jiyoon's Roastery. And I wanted to make this video because I think it was just really interesting, and we're going to do a collaboration. There's going to be some coffees that you guys can pick up, Discord exclusive. Basically, what we did the past week was we hosted a Cup of Excellence tasting. So if you ever see the logo on these bags, Cup of Excellence, I'm pretty sure many of you guys have tasted Cup of Excellence coffees. We hosted a tasting of COE coffees from 5 different regions, and we did basically like a public cupping, and it was really interesting to kind of get feedback, and it was all blind, by the way, and we'll talk a little bit more about that and what the coffees were, but just wanted to talk about that experience of putting some of these coffees out to the general public. And then these two were my favorite coffees from that cupping, and we wanted to make them available for you guys to pick up because I think you guys will really enjoy them. Yeah, let's kind of talk a little bit about that event we ran.
Yeah, so it was a fantastic event. We had a huge turnout, around 60 people, and we had 5 coffees from 5 different regions, all Cup of Excellence winners in the top 10. We had a coffee from Ethiopia, Thailand, Costa Rica, Honduras, and Brazil. They were all laid out on the table blind, and we had 2 tables of the same coffees in the same order, and we had the public vote, which is your favorite. And so it was an anonymous blind survey, and we got to find out, like, down to the T, which coffees were people's favorites.
Yeah, and what was interesting about this event compared to other coffee events we've ran before is that this crowd of people, at least to my eye, they were not hardcore coffee nerds. They were much more regular coffee consumers, and they somehow found out about the event. I mean, you had to think about it, you know, coffee, Cup of Excellence coffee tastings, like who's going to be signing up for that? I would have thought they would be all coffee nerds and enthusiasts, but we had a lot of people who, you know, never participated in a cupping before, never even knew coffees could be of this caliber, and so I think it was a really good audience of people to be tasting these coffees. It was really interesting to observe people's reactions, because I think for a lot of people, this was the first time people got to taste coffees, first of all, of this caliber, but also coffees that, you know, don't necessarily taste like what people think coffee tastes like, you know, fruity, floral, craziness like that.
Yeah, we got a lot of reactions like, oh, this doesn't taste like coffee, it tastes like tea. Like Brian said, we had a lot of the general public, but we did still have a good contingent of the more experienced.
Oh yeah, there were seasoned people. There are always coffee nerds that show up to these events.
There's a really good dynamic, good energy in the room.
Yeah, but really interesting was the favorite coffees. Actually, these were 2 coffees that we're about to talk about were, I think, very aligned with most of people's favorites. But
this was everyone's favorite.
Yeah, this coffee was everyone's favorite. So I guess we can do the reveal of what the most favorite coffee was, and then we can talk a little bit about preconceived thoughts on what I think normal people like. So 5 different coffees again, but this was the favorite coffee of everybody's, and this was a Honduras Gesha, washed. Washed.
Yeah.
That actually greatly surprised me, where on a blind cupping table, my experience, or at least when I think about what do normal people like, I just do not think that normal people like Washed Gesha, which is, you know, if you've never tasted Washed Gesha, I feel like if you tasted it, you would probably think it's kind of like maybe a weekly brewed tea. I would have thought most people would have preferred a much more punchier, funkier, louder, you know, natural processed coffee or an experimental processed coffee, but most people preferred the washed coffee, which is like mind-blowing because I'm like, okay, I just need to take everything I know and throw it out the window. So that was really quite interesting. And I think part of why that happened was maybe because it was blind. We've run events before. We did a bunch of Panama Gesha tasting events where we would have a natural and a washed, and we would always find people like the natural process or the anaerobic, the louder coffee.
Extended fermentation. The coffees where you can really taste the presence of fermentation. But yeah, this event blew both of our minds because, again, the Gesha washed that had the cleanest and crispest attributes was
Everyone's
most
favorite,
people's
yeah.
favorite coffee.
Before we, I guess, dive a little deeper into these exact coffees, because this was the favorite one, let's talk about what else was on that table. First of all, an incredible spread of coffees. I mean, for a lot of people, these are the tippy top of what you can accomplish in coffee. But we're going to talk a little bit about what each of these coffees were, then we'll dive a little deeper into these two, because we're going to cup them, we're going to taste them, and these coffees will be available for you guys.
So we had a coffee from Ethiopia that ranked number 9. All the coffees were in the top 10. So this one was Ethiopia number 9. It was, of course, a natural process and scored close to 89 points, so 88.96, a women producer. And then was a coffee from Thailand, which also ranked number 9. This one was a honey processed Cat Timor, scoring 88 points. A varying altitude. So the Ethiopia was 1950 meters, the Thailand was 1270 meters. And then the Costa Rica over here, a score of 90.42, an experimental process, variety is San Roque, and 1700 meters, so pretty high altitude. That contrasted with the Honduras, the top 5 ranking was a score of 90.04. 1650 meters and a Gesha washed process. And then the last one was a Brazil number 3, a natural process variety, Catucaí 2SL. The list of coffees that were cupped and tasted really across a wide spectrum of processing methods, region, variety, and altitude, the climate and the terroir.
Yeah, and kind of my favorite was actually this coffee, which is an experimental process Costa Rica.
What did you like about it?
Well, so on a cupping table, I guess, like, you know, and I think about if you're cupping in a public setting, it's a social environment. I was just like, what is the most memorable coffee to me, right? I wasn't really thinking too hard into the key characteristics, but it's good. But this was that coffee which was the loudest to me. When I was cupping it, I was like, wow, this is incredibly loud. I mean, you could tell it was processed, but it was significantly more interesting to me than anything else. My second was the Honduras here, because it was just super clean. It was just like, this is clean Washed Gesha. It's like, you can't really go wrong with clean Washed Gesha. But it's, you know, good to know my favorite coffee was above 90 points. You know, bigger number, better, right? When we revealed the results, I actually thought that most people would prefer this coffee or the Ethiopian natural over everything else, because those are to me, you know, very fruity, very process forward. Maybe not like super process forward, but like the fact that you could hand these coffees to a normal person on the street and they would taste it and be like, wow, that tastes like fruits. It tastes like, you know, there's acidity, there's a lot of sweetness in there. Whereas when you contrast these two, I mean, actually both of these coffees are quite different, and they're fun to taste side by side, which is what we're going to do here. The Honduras here is just, you know, clean, structured, floral, sweet. It's you know, it's very normal when you compare it to that, and I feel like that would
normal
put this
in the
lower.
classic sense.
Yeah.
That clean, washed Gesha profile that one may expect. I have the survey results in front of me, and I am surprised looking at this in a more granular way. So coffee number 4, the Washed Gesha, was 43% of the audience's favorite, which again, given that this is a clean, crisp coffee and the audience was really all over the spectrum from beginners to more seasoned coffee drinkers, I'm surprised that 43% of the people ranked this as their number 1. And then the number 2 was this Brazil coffee, which is on the opposite spectrum, right? So this Brazil coffee is, it's loud.
Yeah, it's like a fruity tea.
Yeah, and then this did not get as many votes, but it was Brian's favorite.
Yeah, that was my favorite. So
Yeah.
that's why it's here.
But
so.
really, tasting it today, it is an outstanding coffee. It goes to show how coffee can surprise us. People's preferences can surprise us, truly.
Yeah, but See, this is surprising to me that this is at the top. This is not surprising, but you know we're doing this coffee because I like it. So too bad. Actually, this coffee is for sale as well. If people wanted to pick that up, but you're gonna run out of this soon.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. But we'll put screenshots of the survey and the data here, and then we'll get back to the rest of the video, which is we're tasting the coffee. The results quite surprised me, but what we wanted to do is, and just because like I got these two coffees right here, is let's do a little tasting of them and link to these. If you want to pick these up, they'll be on the Discord. Little cool collab here that Jiyoon is letting me do. And then maybe these coffees will be released to the public, but you guys get first dibs. So let's go ahead and taste these coffees, and we'll have Jiyoon tell us a little bit more about them and you know what to look for in the cup.
Great.
Cool.
So let's start with the fragrance.
Okay, so fragrance is the dry.
Yes, before we wet the coffee.
So, wow. When she was grinding this coffees earlier, it was absolutely incredible. I mean, these are coffees that, even that coffee, which is a wash coffee, you can be across the room and you can smell it. But yeah, that is really what happens with this Costa Rica. This Costa Rica is so loud. You know, as much as I know a lot of enthusiasts like cleaner coffees, sometimes you got to get these coffees. You know, we're talking, this is loud, but it has been pushed over, right? It is a fermented coffee. There's processing on it, but it's not pushed over where it starts to become something like vinegary or bin juice, as you would call it. I really like how that Costa Rica smells, even over this the Honduras here. But what are you getting?
Yeah, so this one I get, it's very fruit forward. Apricot mixed with some cacao. This one is that classic Gesha jasmine. It's like a bouquet of flowers.
Yeah, definitely flowers.
So there's more delicacy here in this cup. In the Costa Rica, it's more like a fruit bomb.
Yeah, that's in your face. This is, you got to kind of, you know, there's complexities in it, right?
Yeah.
And that's like what you've typically find in a lot of these higher scoring coffees is like the subtle nuances. I don't know, I'm like, oh, maybe I actually do like funky coffee.
Yeah, so what was also interesting is during the blind tasting cupping over the weekend, this was number 3 and this was number 4. And for one of the tables, the coffees were placed in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Meaning people who tasted 4 tasted 3 right before. So you can imagine how the experimental process may that memory may carry over to one's experience of the washed, cleaner, crisper coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, or like, you know, or override that too,
Right.
You know, like you would be like, I don't care about this coffee because this coffee was so impressive. That's still kind of surprising information to hear because it still means that this must have impressed some group of people over this, even though that should be on paper is a louder coffee. But yeah, let's go ahead and get some water on them and begin tasting. So for me, this is always the most exciting part when we're cupping some of these coffees and tasting them is when you get water on them. Very excited for this Costa Rica. Jeez, crazy. And then the Honduras. That still smells really good. Wow. So yeah, we're gonna cup these and have a deeper dive in terms of what you can experience when you taste these coffees, but it's always, you know, I like to do these types of videos, and especially because we're doing a collab here, is to be able to actually taste a coffee and talk a bit about it. Because a lot of times the coffees we talk about, it's like it's gone, right? You can't buy it anymore. And luckily these are here. We're able to pull this off and get these coffees in a little bit before. But these were my two favorite.
Pre-launch.
Pre-launch, yes. Just for you guys. Yeah, wow. I mean, I'm very, very impressive. So I guess while we're letting these brew, do you want to quickly talk a little bit about Cup of Excellence judging, or what your experience with that is?
Sure. Cup of Excellence is, they just celebrated their 20th anniversary. It is a competition held in coffee-producing countries with the help of in-country partners. And really, there are national judges and international judges to help find the best coffees in each producing country. So hundreds of coffee producers will submit their coffee samples, and the top scoring ones will advance to the international round. And then ultimately we choose the top 10 coffees. The economic and social impact of it is enormous in that coffee producers get rewarded for producing and enhancing quality coffee, right? So coffee, the way it's priced, the pricing has a strong correlation to the score that the coffee receives. So if a coffee producer is producing a container of coffee that scores an 80 versus coffee that scores an 86, that's of enormous value. So what Cup of Excellence is doing is incentivizing coffee producers in all of these producing regions to really pay attention to quality. How can producers innovate their processing and harvesting and just how they're growing and caring for the coffee in a way that will benefit them economically. So for the past 20 years, Cup of Excellence has done great work, and the judging process is very interesting. There is a wide array of a wide representation of judges from different continents, different countries. So a US cupper has different preferences than a cupper from Saudi Arabia or from Korea. And there is a lot of room for deliberation and debate around each coffee that is at the table. So we hit 3 minutes and 50 seconds, so in 10 seconds we're gonna break.
Yeah, we'll break these and we can talk a little bit more.
You can break the Costa Ricas?
Oh, yeah.
Since that was your favorite?
Oh, yeah, I will break the Costa
Okay.
Rica.
Okay, we can break now.
All right. Wow, incredible.
We're gonna skim.
Maybe I do like funky coffee. Well,
Maybe
I don't
you
think this
do.
is that
Fine.
funky. This is just, it's loud. All right.
All right.
I'll let this sit for a bit more.
Yeah, as it cools.
But yeah, you get that huge burst of aromatics. Yeah, even this, I mean, to me, lot of flowers, a lot of flowers. This is like punching you in the face with fruits.
And it was exciting this weekend to have the executive director, Erwin Mearsh, from Cup of Excellence join us. He talked about the significance and history of Cup of Excellence and led the cupping with us.
When you're judging, how many coffees do you usually taste?
At the international round, the first day we calibrate, and then starting from the second day, we cup 40 coffees.
40, jeez.
Yeah, and then the ones that score above 87 points will advance to the next round. And the very last day, we're cupping the top 10 coffees.
Okay, and then on this, there's 10 different places. What's kind of the difference between a number 1 coffee versus like a number 2 or even a number 1 versus a number 10? They're all good, by the way.
They're all good. A lot of times, of course, the composition of the jurors in that deliberation room has an impact on the granular ranking of the coffee. So, that's why it's important that Cup of Excellence is doing a good job of getting judges from different continents, with different palates and preferences. I would say that comparing a Cup of Excellence number 1 winner to a number 10 winner, the number 1 winner will have this element of complexity in a way that may not be present in the lower ranking coffees. So how multifaceted is it? When you're writing down descriptors for different attributes of the coffee, how much are you writing? Is there a lot to hold on to? Are there details that are just being thrown at you in your face because it's so clearly expressed in the cup? Or do you have to search? You have to think hard and really search for those descriptors. And oftentimes the number 1 winner, those descriptors are so readily available for the cupper. A coffee mentor of mine has said in very dumbed down terms, the more you have to write about a coffee, the better it is. Yeah.
Okay, all these coffees are above 90 plus, but there's 89 versus 90, then there's even decimal points, right? We're getting to like 90.04, 90.042, you know, hundredths, there's a hundredth place on that coffee. So how's that determined?
So that is the average of the cupper scores. The international judges each submit their score. The scores at the opposite extremes are eliminated, and then the rest of the juror scores are taken into account and averaged.
Yeah, but generally speaking, you know, for most people, I think if you're drinking above, if you try to put numbers to it, I think a lot of people think high-end coffees, 87, 88, 89. These two coffees here are, you know, exponential. They're much more expensive coffees, but these are 90 plus coffees. So I got good taste because I only picked the 90 plus coffees. So these are here, and we're gonna taste these now. So I'm gonna start with the washed, and then I'll go to here, and we can talk a little bit more about it. But it's always super fun to be able to cup with Jiyoon here and learn how to taste coffee.
So now we're cupping it when it's hot.
Clean.
Very clean, crisp.
Floral. Yeah, crisp.
Classic Gesha
structured.
profile.
Yeah, very classic. A lot of jasmine.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. So
That's
do you
loud.
recall why you picked that as your favorite?
Well, because it's this, I have to take a split second to think about what I'm experiencing. This here is just like, boom, in your face flavor. This is just like punch you in the face with flavor notes.
Cameo, MJ. So everyone voted this as their favorite.
Yeah, people
or
like this
the
coffee.
majority.
Maybe because there are only two coffees here, there are attributes in this coffee that I think are definitely stronger than the Costa Rica.
Like what?
Mainly definition of acidity. The presentation of acidity is much cleaner. It's incredibly structured. Like there's so much detail in the acidity. This here, yes, there's acidity, but it's covered in something. And that's that processing that we're experiencing.
Yeah, the experimental process.
Yeah, but I think this is a more interesting cup to drink, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like fruit juice.
This is like, you know, I'm in a social environment, I'm trying to have fun, I would pick this coffee. This is a louder coffee that speaks to me. If I were to put my thinking cap on and think about what do I personally prefer, this is what I would, you know, really, really like, because it's clean, it's structured. But drinking these two side by side this is so much fun. I mean, I'm like, oh my God, these coffees are so good.
What was very interesting on Saturday at the public cupping was, you know, often when we talk about 90 plus coffees, very high scoring coffees, it's the overwhelming majority tends to be like, you know, Gesha or Gesha type coffees. But on Saturday we had Katimor from Thailand, and here we have San Roque from Costa Rica. So it's like a San Roque experimental up against a Gesha wash. And yeah, the blind component made it very fun.
Yeah, because I think even normal coffee consumers have heard about Gesha coffee. And when they think about Gesha, they're like, oh, that is more expensive. That is something that I'm gonna like better. It's more premium. But, you know, when you do it blind, that is where the realness comes out. And that still kind of surprised me, you know, not even looking at varietals, but just looking at processing, where I'm like, I feel like most people would prefer a more funkier process, but in fact, they prefer clean, classic profile, which is interesting.
Yeah. This is getting, I'm getting more information as it cools, even more sweetness than when it was hot, and that structured, pleasant acidity is, it's still there.
As this cools, this is where I'm definitely tasting that there is more of a distinct separation between like the processing. It's like there is layering, and it's from the processing. I'm getting more, I guess, linger of processing rather than this is where I'm getting more, I guess, detail in terms of this is what the coffee is tasting like in terms of that more classic profile. What's also interesting to me is I rarely actually drink a lot of Honduran Geshas. And to me, this is like probably the best Honduras coffee I've ever tasted before.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's like
Now
incredible.
I'm getting even more as it opens up, like more jasmine, more lemongrass, like just floral and
It's really interesting because
lingering.
I don't know, when I think about this profile, I think about Panama Gesha, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, we always compare things. Oh, Washed Gesha. Oh, how does it compare to Panama Gesha? You know, this is in its kind of own lane. Not, you know, not like citrus profile, but a lot of you know, yellower acidity, lemongrassy acidity, but with a lot of those nice classic components like the jasmine, the
Bergamot,
florality, the cleanliness. This is for sure a cleaner coffee than this one, but this is an impressive coffee. I mean, this is a coffee where I could just give this to somebody and they would be massively blown away.
This coffee has more of a syrupy coating in the mouth.
Yeah, the aftertaste, the finish, to me, is that processing. It's like that layered processing. It's sweet in comparison to the florality and the cleanliness here. So this is stickier.
Yeah, stickier.
It's definitely stickier,
Syrupy.
lingers longer.
So one tip I have for all coffee drinkers, coffee lovers, whether you're an enthusiast or more with experience, is that in order to improve as a taster, you want to taste coffee side by side. So just tasting one coffee is incredibly different than tasting 2, 3, 4, 5 coffees at the same time, so you can compare and contrast. So that's my biggest piece of advice for all of you. To experience this coffee is amazing, but to experience this coffee alongside a different origin, different processing method, both 90 plus is how you improve as a cupper and as a taster.
Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying myself right now. I mean, these two coffees are so nice, but they're so different. So that's and to me, you know, when I think about tasting experiences, both of these coffees side by side is incredible. And these two were my favorite two coffees from the 5 Cup of Excellence coffees we presented at this public cupping. And you know, because I like them so much, I bothered Jiyoon and I was like, all right, let's do a little Discord, little exclusive drop. So there's not that much of this coffee left. So you know, I'll put the video up and we'll see how many people pick it up. But you know, if you do pick these coffees up, try to taste them side by side. I think for me, this is such a great representation of clean washed coffee, and this is a really great representation of what producers are doing in terms of processing. You know, how far can you push processing? Incredibly different, contrasting coffees. But
how far can you push processing in a way that still respects the integrity of the coffee in its essence, right? Because certain processed coffees, it's so overly processed that all you taste is the processing. But this is an amazing example of coffee that uses the experimental process and has that hint of processing in a way that
it elevates,
elevates the coffee.
Cup. Yeah, so I'm really happy to be able to taste these coffees, and I really hope you guys, if you guys get the coffees, talk about it in the Discord, because this is something where, you know, we've done these collabs in the past, and you guys always post about it, and we always talk about the coffees, and, you know, if we have time, we can taste the coffees together on the Discord, but otherwise, you know, really happy to be able to get these coffees before the rest of the public gets them. But hopefully people pick these coffees up. You will probably have more Cup of Excellence coffees coming up soon.
Yes, we have some more lined up.
Okay, so be on the lookout for that. Panama coffees as well. We'll have some more videos together, tasting some interesting geshas together. Just because, you know, whenever I do videos with Jiyoon, we taste the coffees together, I get better at tasting, and hopefully this is informative to you all. But yeah, these two coffees are available for now. Probably not that long before they go out, but yeah, we have top coffees from Cup of Excellence. These were my two favorite. Costa Rica number 3 and Honduras number 5. Very fun coffees to taste together. I want to thank Jiyoon for setting this up. You know, first of all, thank you for getting these coffees in as well and tasting them. And you had to bid and pick them up, right?
It's a lot of work to you know, cup all the coffees, the samples, and to pick my favorite ones, and to bid and to win the auction. There's no guarantee that we win the auction, so yeah, very happy to be releasing this with you.
Yay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here they are. Thank you so much for spending time to watch this video. If you have any questions, let us know, but we'll have some more videos together. So see you later.
Amazing.
Bye.